Sometimes when we ponder about the idea that God is for us, it's so important for us to see in Scripture that God always gives second chances. I'm not even quite sure that that's the right word to describe it with, but just think about some of these examples. Abram at one stage was an idol worshipper, and yet in the midst of that, God reveals himself to Abram and gives him, as it were, a second chance. He gives him opportunity to discover his righteousness in God. Moses killed an Egyptian, and yet God revealed himself to him. David, he committed horrible adultery and then murder and betrayed one of his best friends, and yet God calls him a man after my own heart. Think about the woman caught in adultery. Jesus writes in the sand, and then, as it were, turns to her accusers and says, if any of you are not guilty or worthy, you are welcome to pick up the first stone and throw it. Now, this was the only man that ever lived that was actually qualified to throw a stone. He was qualified to pick up that first stone and throw it at this woman, and yet he didn't. He was giving her another opportunity. Think about Peter. How many times did he fail Christ? He actually denied him in a moment of crisis, and yet he becomes one of the greatest leaders of the New Testament church. How about the prodigal son, the story that Jesus told about the son who squandered his inheritance, yet he discovered the ever-present love of the Father. No matter where you are today, no matter what you're experiencing, know that God is for you because His goodness is always for you.